So I'd like to start by asking everyone to take a moment to think about someone from a different background or culture that's inspired or influenced you. Now, you don't have to know this person personally. They could be fictional. They could just be someone that's a celebrity or something along those lines. I know I have plenty of those people in my life, and I don't think I would be the person standing in front of you today without their influence. So how did I get here? I'll start by talking about my hometown of Bradenton, Florida, in Manatee County. See, Bradenton recently has had an increase in the amount of residents and businesses that are here. And parts of the county are completely unrecognizable compared to just a decade ago. And while that is great for our economy overall, unfortunately, it makes a more noticeable divide between the haves and the have-nots. The nice parts of Bradenton and the not so nice parts of Bradenton. See, I'm from the not so nice parts of the county, My family has been there for generations, and I've always been around modest and hardworking people. A lot of them were blue collar, sometimes in retail, but they, unfortunately, for many reasons, couldn't afford to go to college or to a technical school. They didn't have access to the resources where they could excel beyond their circumstances. And I didn't really pay attention to this until I transitioned from an elementary school in a predominantly minority, low-income part of town to a middle school out east in a predominantly white and more affluent part of the county. And as I became friends with my newfound classmates and realized the different lifestyle that they were living, they were going on vacations all the time, they always had the nicest clothes, they had the new gadgets and gizmos. A lot of them talked about talking online through AOL. I couldn't do that yet. But as I got older and we started talking about the things we wanted to do with our lives and our careers, it really hit me that their parents were really the deal breaker for them. Their parents had the education, financial resources, and professional resources to give them the knowledge needed to advance in their life and in their careers. Now, that's not to say that I grew up in a household that didn't value education. My mom was a strict woman about getting good grades. If I brought home anything less than a B, there would be some issues. And so with that, I was always on top of my grades. However, as the oldest of four in a single-parent household, I started to realize that college would be difficult to pay for. Thankfully, I was introduced to a local nonprofit that serves the community by giving each student in the program a mentor and a scholarship. I was in the 8th grade when I made my way into this program, and although I was thankful for the scholarship, solidifying my ability to go to college, what I was most thankful for was that mentorship that I received. So the mentor that I worked with, his name is Jason Russ. Jason Russ is a great example of how you can influence someone and make an impact in their lives without even realizing it. Jason and I worked together from the time I was in the 9th grade until I was in the 12th grade. And we share the same skin color, but however, we differed when it came to cultural background and lifestyles. See, Jason had a strong nuclear family with him and his wife and his kids. He had a spirited personal life. He had financial freedom. And he loved to give back. Some of those things I had seen before, but working with him directly, I had the opportunity to ask questions without judgment or fear. And I also had the ability to have a male role model who I could talk to about things that I didn't necessarily want to talk to my mom about. Especially puberty, that's crazy. It's a whole other story. But beyond that, I think I really grew in my connection with Jason because I got to experience new things with him. He showed me martial arts, something I had never done before. We went to Hispanic community festivals. We tried a lot of different things. And especially after I saw his house, the white picket fence, a nice yard, I said I wanted that in my own life. That's something I wanted to aspire for. And I wanted to help others get there once I figure it out. Something Jason recently said to me was that he felt that the program that we were both involved with offered him the opportunity to invest his time and energy into someone, and that the program that he chose was a great investment for him, and that he still gets a return on his investment by being affiliated with me. And that's essentially what mentoring is in a nutshell. It's your investment in time, and effort into someone who is willing to learn and grow from you. But where do you find those people who want your investment? They're all around this county and all over in community centers, youth centers. They're in these local nonprofits that are already doing the work. And it's up to you to make yourself accessible to these people in order for us to improve the community around them. The students in those programs, they often come from the same socioeconomic background. They live in the same neighborhoods. They share a lot of the same cultural values. And they see a lot of the same things growing up. They don't know different. That is until they're exposed to someone else from a different background or culture, like I was with Jason. In fact, your contribution to their life doesn't have to be major. You can just talk about what you went through in your life that might be similar or different to theirs, and that could be the spark that challenges them to create that kind of change in their own life. When I started mentoring, I was 22 years old. I was finishing up my bachelor's degree at the University of South Florida, and I had just started coaching high school basketball. I had a student and his mother, Nico Traylor, come to me and they asked if I would be his mentor. And I felt like I didn't have the experience. I wasn't old enough. I was still a baby myself. How could I mentor this kid? He was a ninth grader also, so it wasn't a huge age gap there. And Nico, and what I learned from Nico, is that it really doesn't have to be in a relationship where you're the most experienced person in the world. I wanted to be for Nico what Jason was for me. Nico had a background where it was essentially him, his mother, and his older sister. So he never won any arguments in the household, ever. And his mom, despite having health issues, she always pushed him and his sister to be the best people that they could be. She wanted them to give back, and she always encouraged him to have the best grades. Sounds very similar to my background. But where I stood in for Nico was when he disagreed with his mother on how to approach things, I was able to have his back and he had someone that could support him, someone that could talk to his mom and give her a more adult perspective, quote unquote. And that meant the world to him. He went on to graduate from Florida State University. He now lives in Chicago, Illinois. And in one of our recent conversations, he started asking on ways he could give back to his community in Chicago. He wanted to be a person like I was to him for someone else. So I started to see how the cycle happens. And Nico also asked if he could give back to Bradenton virtually, which is amazing. Someone way in Chicago still wants to help the community that he came from. Nico's only 23 years old now. So he's not a very old guy, nonetheless. But again, the cycle is starting to repeat itself. We create new leaders by being accessible to others. See, I'm thankful to have acquired the respect of the community in terms of leadership. I feel as though it is my mission now to make sure that I can help others get to the place that they want to be in life, which means that I no longer look at the amount of experience that I have as a crutch as to why I can't help. I don't look at the age that I am as a reason why I can't be more beneficial to others. I don't look at my background as a reason why I can't be more beneficial to others. I just try to help where I can. And this includes mentoring adjacently, working with people around my age to help them achieve the things that they want to achieve. The people in those not so nice parts of Bradenton that I grew up with, a lot of them unfortunately are still there, and they're still trying to figure things out. Earlier on in life for a lot of them, whether it be crime, children, lack of resources, or a combination of all of those things, it set them on a pathway that is more difficult when it comes to finding success later on in life. But that doesn't mean that they're unwilling to make changes now to be the person that they want to be for not only themselves, but their families and their communities. So again, it is my duty to pay it back to them for not having the same resources, to be that guide over, to be the bridge to different cultures. Ultimately, mentoring is an opportunity for you to share your experience with someone else. It gives you the opportunity to grow in your empathy, to learn other perspectives, and to truly be involved with the place that you call home. I ask you all to take a moment and think about the person who I asked you to think about earlier, that influence that was in your life from before. Are you willing to be that person for someone else? Thank you. Thank you.